Immanuel Kant was a German philosopher of the 18th century and founder of Kantian Ethics. Kantian Ethics contrasts with utilitarianism. You may wish to visit the utilitarian video to see how they contrast. Kant's theory can be described as absolutist. He believed that there were absolute moral laws that people had within them that ought to be followed. His theory is also deontological, as it focuses on duty. Like Thomas Aquinas, Kant believed that every individual possessed reason, and it was this that would enable them to take the right course of action when faced with a moral dilemma. The difference, however, was that Kant was not speaking from a religious point of view, although he had his connections to the Lutheran Church. Kant asked, "How do we know what we know, and what does it mean to me?" Kant believed that there were two ways to obtain knowledge, a posteriori and a priori. A posteriori is knowledge that comes through experience. For example, if I want to know what is in a box, I must open it. A priori is knowledge that doesn't require experience, but requires you to think. For example, a wife is a married woman. For Kant, moral knowledge is a priori, because it does not require experience. It is inherent in every individual. Therefore, we all have the capacity to act morally without external forces or influences. Kant argued that the only thing that could be called good, without any qualification, was goodwill. Duty is what makes goodwill good. For example, having a job is not good in itself. What makes it good may be the financial reward at the end of the day, week or month, or the opportunity to socialize with colleagues, customers or clients. This is hypothetical. Education is not good in itself, but what makes it good may be the qualification one gets at the end. Kant described moral law in terms of hypothetical and categorical imperative. Kant believed that when faced with a moral dilemma, we should do the right thing just because it is the right thing to do. We should act from a sense of duty. For example, a person that chooses to help another person because of outside influences, be it because it is the Christian thing to do, they feel moved to act based on emotion, wanting to impress others or gain some reward or acknowledgement. According to Kant, this would be morally wrong, hypothetical. However, a person that chooses to clear the snow from a neighbor's driveway, purely out of goodwill, has acted morally right. They have performed the categorical imperative. The action is good in itself. For Kant, the last example is the right approach because it is not dependent or influenced by other factors. Kant formulated a set of maxims, or rules that can be applied universally. They are called the categorical imperative. Within this are the three formulations. Formulation 1, universalization. Formulation 2, humans as ends. Formulation 3, the kingdom of ends. Kant also provides the three postulates: freedom, immortality, and God. The three postulates are assumptions that Kant makes. Let's revisit the three acts that were shown before. Sweeping snow from a neighbor's driveway, sweeping the floor and giving CPR. Let us assume that these individuals were forced to do so, having no choice in the matter. They could not be rewarded or punished for their action as they were not acting freely. However, if they were given total autonomy, and acted from a sense of duty and goodwill, one can assume that a reward or punishment would follow. For example, one cannot perform CPR on another individual without the relevant training, as it could cause more harm than good, so they may be reprimanded, but the person who performs these acts are most likely sure to be praised. Good deeds are sometimes acknowledged, such as individuals that have been given a Nobel Peace Prize. However, some good deeds go unnoticed. Kant, being committed to a justice, argued that human beings who act from a sense of duty should be rewarded with the ultimate happiness or supreme good. This is known as summum bonum. This, however, may not come in this lifetime, and being that we are immortal beings, Kant says it may come in the afterlife. There is a need for a reward giver. That reward giver would therefore have to be an immortal being, God. And now, for some strengths and weaknesses. Strengths. It is based on reason and there is a clear criteria. It respects all individuals, including minority groups. There is one rule for everyone, so allows for universalization. He distinguishes between duty and inclination. This is the equivalent of the golden rule: do unto others as you will have them do unto you. Kant theory is the basis of the Declaration of Human Rights. Before becoming John Paul II, Karl Wojtyla appeared to support the second formulation. He said anyone who treats a person as a means to an end, does violence to the other's very essence, to that which constitutes his natural right. Weaknesses. It can seem cold, inhuman and lacking in compassion as it's based on duty. There is no room for human emotions in moral decisions. Reason is placed above God. The outcome may be more important than the decision-making process. Difficult to apply in real-life situations. Some duties may conflict and no solution is given. Not everyone is capable of rational decision-making, for example the mentally unsound. It only works if everybody does it. Is not the same as ought. Alistair McIntyre criticized its universalizability. All I need to do is characterize the proposed action in such a way that the maxim will permit me to do what I want while prohibiting other from doing what would nullify the action in universalized. American philosopher Louis Podgman also found a fault with universalization. W. D. Ross revised Kantian Ethics. For example, if Kantian Ethics stated never take a life, Ross added except in self-defense. Ross came up with 7 prima facie first sight duties.
Let's test your memory. Which words would you use to describe Kantian ethics? The correct answer is absolutist and deontological. When studying applied ethics, which other theory would you contrast it with? The correct answer is utilitarianism. Kantian ethics and utilitarianism is applied to which topic in applied ethics? The correct answer is business ethics. For Kant, what is moral knowledge? A posteriori or a priori? The correct answer is a priori, because we do not need experience to know what is right or wrong, good or bad. How many maxims can the categorical imperative be broken down into? The correct answer is 3. The universal law of nature, humans as ends in themselves and a kingdom of ends. List the 3 postulates. Freedom, immortality, and God, who were the 2 individuals that performed good deeds, and were recognized and rewarded with a Nobel Peace Prize. The correct answer is Kofi Annan and Malala Yousafzai. Not to worry, if you perform a good deed, out of goodwill, because you see it as your duty, what will you receive? summum bonum, the ultimate happiness and highest good.